they are. What are agrofuels? They are biofuels that are industrially produced, not recycled vegetable oil. There's nothing wrong with using recycled vegetable oil to power vehicles, but there's not enough of that to go around to power all our transport and power stations and continue with business as usual. What is being used is agrofuel. That's fuel, liquid fuel made from crops that were grown specifically to go straight into fuels such as petrol and diesel, and it never got eaten, or used to cook food first. It was grown in large monocultures using fertilizers and pesticides. So basically industrial non-recyclable vegetable oils. That is agrofuel. And the problems is that they're not renewable. The science is now even clearer than last year. Agrofuels don't slow down climate change. All agrofuels exacerbate climate change. There is no spare wasteland on the planet that could be used to grow agrofuels on. We either destroy ecosystems such as rainforests, peatlands and grasslands to grow agrofuels, or we take over farmland that was previously used to grow food and then destroy more ecosystems to grow food we have displaced. When this happens, the carbon that has been stored in trees, grasslands, peat bogs and the soil for thousands of years is released into the atmosphere all at once. We need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions now, as all the previous speakers have gone into. But by destroying habitat for agrofuels, we are exacerbating greenhouse gas emissions now. We also threaten biodiversity, species and the carbon sinks that help regulate the climate and influence local and intercontinental weather patterns. By destroying microclimates, we are changing weather patterns faster than even climate change is. In addition to this, the nitrogen fertilisers used for agrofuels release nitrous oxide, a potent greenhouse gas that, on its own, cancels out any perceived climate benefits of agrofuels. Agrofuels are far from carbon neutral. In the case of palm oil, it can take 840 years for it to pay back the carbon debt once you've drained the peat bogs and cut down the forest. At best, sugarcane is only 17 years, but it's no good really saying that one agrofuel is better than another because, for example, if you grow oilseed rape in Europe as used for agrofuels, rather than cooking oil, we have to import cooking oil, a different sort of cooking oil, and it may then be palm oil or soya, which leads to rainforest destruction. So they're all equally bad in that sense. Now, another thing that is as big a problem and maybe people aren't as aware of is industrial scale biomass. This is solid fuel such as wood pellets and the like. It doesn't matter whether you're destroying rainforests to grow palm for palm oil or for eucalyptus that will be solid wood that can be used in power stations, and there are tens of applications around the UK for biomass power stations. The UK already imports over 80% of our wood and wood products from abroad, and now we're going to burn wood in power stations to generate electricity? Forth Energy, for example, who plan to build 4 biomass power stations in Scotland, which would generate a total of just 560 megawatts between them, they would need to burn the equivalent of 2/3 of the UK's annual wood production to run just those power stations, and that's just one company. According to an analysis by McKinsey Parry, plans for biomass burning announced in the UK, altogether if they're passed, will require 35 million tonnes of green biomass per year, which is 3.5 times as much as all the wood that we currently produce in the UK. And that wood needs to go into pulp and paper and other things, other products. We can't just get that out of thin air. We're going to be importing it from abroad, from rainforests and other forests, and they'll be destroyed for industrial plantations. In fact, the problems that agrofuels cause are pretty much all the same as with biomass. In Africa, Asia and South America, agrofuels and industrial tree plantations for biomass are linked to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of rural families, eviction of indigenous people, harassment and death threats, widespread pesticide poisoning of people, wildlife, soil and water, soil erosion and desertification of cropland areas, and loss of species. But UK politicians ignore the science and continue subsidising agrofuels. Agrofuels for electricity get twice the subsidies per megawatt than onshore wind, even though most of them are imported and they're causing untold damage to ecosystems and life in the south. The EU and the UK government also have targets for so-called renewable transport. Actually, what they want is biofuels in transport, and agrofuels are already mixed in at the pump with our petrol and diesel. So if you drive any vehicles, you're already... Yeah, sorry, I have to wind up. Basically, another thing I really wanted to quickly mention is biochar, which is a completely unproven idea. They think that if you grow trees, turn them into charcoal and put them into soil that you don't then farm, that's somehow going to reduce carbon emissions. It's unproven, but it's got big business behind it. One good way of stopping agrofuels is campaigning against agrofuel power stations. We managed to stop the Southall power station, and we have delayed many others around the country. So please get involved, especially if you live around Manchester, Shoreham, Lincolnshire, Sheffield or Barnsley, or Portland in Dorset or Newport, South Wales, where there are campaigns. And anyway, check out Biofuel Watch and Food Not Fuel, sign up to the mailing list. There's also a direct action group called Action Against Agrofuels. Please get involved and help educate people about this issue, because it's a major one that somehow is still left out of the climate debate a lot. Thank you very much.